All right, let me get my notes up here. So yeah, so I just want to start talking about Coinbase, right? Coinbase right now. And I want to talk a little bit about because I know I talk about this a lot. I talk a lot about the Bitcoin. Yeah, the mic is on. What's everybody's talking about? Audio low. So yeah, so the audio should be okay, man. So I'm not going into these audio problems no more. So like I said, is that the sound is as high as it's going to get, man. Y'all got to turn the sound up because, I mean, this is how it's going to go. So that's it. All right, so let's move on. So I want to talk a little bit about Sofi. We're talking, like I said, we're talking about XRP, Semiconductor War, Sofi. So let's move on. Let me get my notes keep going away. There we go. All right, so like I said, I like to talk a lot about the Bitcoin halving because it's very important that we understand it. Now, I put up a post earlier this week about corporations, and a lot of the big banks are now starting to move into Bitcoin. They're starting to create infrastructure. They're starting to create exchanges and other things like that, right? Now, a lot of people, and if you follow me for over 4 years, you know that we've talked about this cycle. The market cycle is 4 phases: accumulation, markup, distribution, markdown, and all markets go through these phases. But Bitcoin and crypto in general go through the phases a lot more pronounced. It's easier to figure it out, right? And in the first phase, it's called accumulation phase. In accumulation phase, what happens is that banks, the rich and the elite, they start creating infrastructure, start buying up these assets, right? So what that means is that they're creating a way for them to make money. And the way that they're going to do this is that they scare you away. And they've done it. If you follow me back in 2019, 20, I told you it was going to happen. I told you exactly how it was going to play out. I told you how everything was going to work. So what happened is that the banks, the elite and the wealthy, they scare you away from assets. They've been doing it since time immemorial, for hundreds of years. So they get you scared, they get you to sell, panic, whatever. And they use the news to do that. They use other stuff to do that. They get you scared. So most people right now are terrified of crypto, just terrified. If you ask the average person about crypto, they respond with, "It didn't that crash?" That's how they respond, right? So they believe that crypto's over. Most people do. The average person, not y'all, because y'all listen, pay attention, but the average person in your office, at your house, your family members, they all think it's crashed. So that's what the banks, the elite and the wealthy want you to think. They want you to be scared. And then what they do is they go in and they start creating infrastructure, buying up the assets cheaply. And that's what we're in right now. We're in the middle of accumulation phase. That's why we see, and one of the things I say is that during this phase, you see conflicting reports. You'll see banks telling you the crypto's bad. This person got scammed, that person. It don't happen. It could be in stocks or whatever. Real estate too, they do the same thing. And then you'll see conflicting reports like JP Morgan invests $7 billion in crypto. Bank of America started a whole crypto unit. And all this stuff is conflicted. Like, why would they do that? Didn't crypto crash? And then it'll come right back. It's been happening in Bitcoin since I can remember, 10 years ago. They do this on purpose. They do it to scare you away. And the average person is emotionally driven, full of carbohydrates and sugar all day. So all day, all they do is they stay at a constant state of fear or a constant state of some type of emotion. They're at the top of their emotional what do you call it? Emotional, let's say pyramid or whatever. They're at the top always ready to be triggered. And that's what the rich, the elite, and the banks want you to be. They want you to be always ready to be triggered. Then when they give you a stimulus, you react. That's what they want you to do. So they make you react with fear. Sell everything you got cheaply. We'll wait about 6 months. We'll buy it back or way less than the price. Then we'll sell it right back to you. And that's what they're doing right now in Bitcoin. They're going to sell it right back to you. So they'll use your emotional state, You're constantly they fill you with sugars, they fill you with carbohydrates, they fill you with all these things. They constantly keep you scared with the news and the media. So whenever they need you, they can just turn you on. So when they need you to hype you up, they'll do it 6 months, a year into 2024. They'll hype you up and say, oh my God, you can't miss crypto now. It's changing lives. All these people are making money. This guy became a billionaire overnight. They'll do that. And then the average person will jump right back in at the wrong time. And then what's happening during that cycle? That's the markup phase. That's the distribution phase. That's when the rich, the banks are selling it right back to you. They're selling their houses they bought cheaply. They're selling you their stocks they bought cheaply. They're selling you their crypto they bought cheaply. Right back to you. And then that's one of the major reasons why the wealth gap keeps getting bigger and bigger. That cycle that we go through. And the average person is completely unaware of that cycle, completely unaware that it's happening. Most people forget what happened 3-4 years ago. They forget about their emotional state 4 years ago. All they know is they live in the moment right now. That's what they do. They live in now. Almost like there's another animal that lives in the now. There's puppies and dogs and cats. They can't perceive the future. That's the reason why if you leave, no matter how long you're gone, you could be gone 2 days, you can be gone an hour, you can be gone 10 minutes. When you come back, the dog is happy because it has no perception of time. It just knows that it's happy to see you, And most people live like that. They just live in the moment, right? So before we get into this content, I want to say we got the event coming up in July, next week, actually, next Saturday. We got Strategy Sunday in New York City. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about, we're going to do a live Strategy Sunday, but it's going to be on Saturday. We're going to have a brunch. We're going to have mimosas. We're going to have a great time. If you're interested in coming to that event, I'm going to put the link right now in the YouTube. And we also have virtual passes. So I'm working on it right now. I'm almost finished. I'm dropping a play bigger than NVIDIA. I'm only going to talk about, if you guys were in New York in early January when I dropped the NVIDIA play and I told you that it was an AI play, I told you what was coming next. A lot of people made a lot of money with that play. And I did it at a Martin Luther King Day event in Brooklyn. But I'm going to be back in Brooklyn this Saturday. I'm going to drop a quantum computing play. I'm going to explain what quantum computing is. We always got a lot of other great speakers and panels, but mine, I'm going to explain what quantum computing is. I'm going to explain to you the stocks, the assets, and the suppliers that are connected to it, which company is going to be affected the most and which company is going to benefit the most. And then we're going to lay out a plan going forward that's going to make, hopefully, a ridiculous amount of money. Right? It's going to be a virtual pass, also going to be in person. Also, you're going to learn a lot about stocks, real estate, crypto. And we're going to have a great networking session if you happen to come in person. So like I said, is that it's also recorded. So if you can't show up, you'll get the recording right after. And it'll be broken up into segments so you can watch whenever you want. So like I said, I'm only going to give that to, I'm not going to talk about that on Strategy Sunday, except probably next year I will, but not anytime now. So like I said, is that it's a great investment in yourself, in your future. So like I said, is I put the link in the comments on YouTube, and I'm also going to put it into the link down. I mean, into the, what do you call it? Down into the caption. Okay. So let's move on. So I want to talk a little bit about, let me get this. Ripple's IPO that's coming up. Now, for those you don't know, Ripple is a company, but Ripple is the creator of XRP. So one of Ripple's goals after this lawsuit is hopefully over, that's another thing we want to talk about. I think it's close to being over. They want to do an IPO. So then you're going to have a Ripple stock out there, and you're also going to have XRP. So the thing about if Ripple actually, I think XRP right now is already up, 28% in the last week and a half. So it's up higher than most major cryptos. So what I think is happening with XRP right now is that the lawsuit is probably coming to an end in the next 6 weeks, probably, if at the most 8 weeks. Now, I think a lot of the insiders already noticed. That's why we're seeing this strange rise in price of XRP that's really not driven by anything. Some technical analysis, it is driven by a little bit of that, technical factors, but it's really no other reason. So I think what's happening behind the scenes is a lot of the people in the know, the insiders, know that this lawsuit is being close, or they're suspecting it's going to be close to being over. So they're buying it up, right? That's why we see this crazy jump in XRP. So what's happening now is that Ripple is preparing. There's rumors out there that they're preparing for an IPO, right? So I know that I said that XRP, once the lawsuit's over, is going to go up 10 times, probably be up 20, 30 times at the end of the next cycle in 24, 25. And I still stand on that. I think that it will. I'm pretty sure it will. And there's a lot of factors, reason that, because XRP is severely undervalued right now because it's not on the exchanges, a lot of exchanges. It's not on a lot of exchanges. It's not on a lot of exchanges because a lot of these exchanges got scared when XRP went into the lawsuit with the SEC. It's like being, when somebody gets indicted or something, the mafia, they don't want to be connected to the person that's indicted. It's the same thing, right? So that's what happened in this situation. So as soon as XRP beats this, or Ripple beats this law, it's SEC civil suit, all these exchanges are going to come back because they want to be in the good graces of Ripple and XRP. So what that does is going to increase demand because now there's new avenues for you to buy XRP. Of course, the demand is going to come back in. XRP is going to quickly, within weeks, go back to where it's supposed to be. Right now, it should probably be at $6, $7. And that's based on, and we go back to 2018. 2018, I think January of 18, Ripple hit the highest it ever hit. I think it was right under $4, right? That was when Bitcoin was right about 18,000, right? So in relation to Bitcoin, it should be at around $6, $7 right now, just because Bitcoin, when Bitcoin goes up, it normally raises all altcoins, the top 10 altcoins, almost in direct relation with it. Some I'm a little more, some I'm a little less, but almost in direct relation. So XRP should actually be like $7 right now. But because of this lawsuit, it's at 50 cents. You see what I'm saying? It's severely undervalued by like 80%. So as soon as this lawsuit's over, it's going to quickly fill that gap. It's going to be at $7, $8, and then Ripple's going to come with IPO. It's going to quickly jump up after that because once Ripple, for those you don't know, I know some people don't know, IPO is the initial public offering. That's when a stock on the stock market, not on the crypto market, on the stock market, because I think I didn't reach that point yet, on the stock market, you're going to be able to buy Ripple, which is the company that produces XRP's stock on the stock market. Now, it's going to do two things. It's going to create a new avenue for people to invest in XRP without having to buy crypto, really. And two, it's going to legitimize Ripple as a real viable company. And that's going to cause the price of XRP to go up even more. So at that point, we'd be at $7, $8. After that, we're probably going to double, be at $15, $16, $17. And after the next halving, we're going to be at $50. At the end of the next halving, like I say 20, sometime in 25, maybe end of 25. That's where we're going to be at the end of 25. And I'm telling you, this is the last chance in crypto with a low level of risk to make those kind of returns. Now, I can pick an altcoin out there, Pepe coin or something like that, and get lucky and do it, but I also can lose everything. But for the last low risk crypto, let's say the top 10, top 20, this is the last chance. Bitcoin ain't going up 50 times from where it is today, not in the next 10, 15 years. Because let's say Bitcoin's at 30,000, goes up 50 times, it's at 1.5 million. It could go up there. It could. But it'll take 10 years, maybe a little bit less. But Ripple's going to do it in 2, maybe even less. So with that being said, I strongly believe that people should take a closer second look at Ripple. Like I said, I can't tell you what to do. I'm still accumulating. I got a lot over the last year. And I think that it's a great chance for people who missed out on Bitcoin, Ethereum, all this stuff. Because the situation with the SEC has created an artificially low asset, which shouldn't really be this low. And it has more use case value. It has more real intrinsic value. And it has more, interest than the price reflects. So anytime an investor, we see those 3 things, or some other things, that's 2, 3 things, it's a great opportunity to get in there and take a risk and see what happens because the risk is low. So let's move on. So we'll talk a little bit about these semiconductor wars, right? We've watched NVIDIA since I started talking about it last year in 11 of 22. We've seen NVIDIA go from like 120 all the way to like 400 now. So a lot of people made 300% return so far. So a lot of people, especially in the CNC, which is my group, you want to join the CNC, it's bottom right-hand corner, jointhecnc.com. There was a couple of people in there that made 100 times their money, 90 times their money. I think one person, I'm not sure, but I believe one person made 800,000 on that NVIDIA play in the CNC, which is my group, a trading group, 5-star community that provides instruction, accountability, stock pick signals, and a lot more. People in the CNC come to the events for free. So it is a great value from jumping in that. So like I said, if you're interested in that, go to jointhecnc.com and check us out. But back to what I was saying is that there's a lot going on with Taiwan, right? And these semiconductor wars. So Taiwan Semiconductor is a company out there that also makes semiconductors. And it's a stock that I really believe is going to do well into the future. And I think it has less risk than NVIDIA because it's not really, it's kind of like investing in a concept instead of investing in a particular company. So the three companies, I think, it's four companies out there that I think are going to do well in the semiconductor. Like I said, of course, NVIDIA. I think NVIDIA is going to be the most important company in the world soon. AMD, Intel, I think is last, but Taiwan is Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, and that symbol is TSM. So I think that one is going to do well into the future. And Intel, I think, is the last. So in order, I would pick NVIDIA, AMD, TSM, and I would pick Intel last. So like I said, I still think NVIDIA has a long way to go. I think we're going to eventually move into a pushback. And NVIDIA is also, if you guys haven't heard the news, NVIDIA is hiring like 4,500, 5,000 new people in the United States. And they're going to try to expand their manufacturing operations in the United States. It's going to take years to do. So I don't think it's going to affect anything right now, but they are preparing for the future, which is a good sign. So let's move on. So I want to talk a little bit about Sofi, this stock Sofi, right? Because a lot of people, out of all the stocks I picked over the last few months, Sofi has been one that hasn't performed. And every time I go online and I say who listened or whatever, and I brag about something, everybody always throws up, so what happened to Sofi, right? And nobody's 100%. And like I said, there's some people out there that track how right I am. I think the last number they put out was like 92%. So I've been like 92% right over the last 4 years. So 92, I mean, out of every 10, the levels were going to be wrong. So you're going to be horribly wrong on 1 out of 11, which is okay. Even 1 out of 10, let's say 90, 1 out of 10, you're going to be wrong on. So I was wrong on Sofi, but I wasn't wrong on it being a valuable company. I was wrong on the timetable. It just hasn't happened yet. I still believe in Sofi long term. What really affected Sofi was that Sofi is a banking company that kind of goes after a certain demographic. Lower middle class people, a lot of younger people right out of college. People in that, that Gen Z, late millennials. Late millennials. So that's about 32 and under. That's kind of like their target market. So they were working with a lot of banks to collect or facilitate student loan payments. That's how they made a big deal of their money. So in 2021 or 22 or 21, let me see, what was the CARES Act passed? Yeah, so the CARES Act caused a pause on student loan. Then they extended that. So of course, SoFi was couldn't handle it because that was a large percentage of their revenue was handling student loans. So their stock kind of failed, and it kind of choked off one of their best business segments, right? So and a bear market hit right after that in 22. So SoFi didn't go to where I thought it was going to go. It's like I thought SoFi was going to go to like 25, 26. I think it got up to like 18. And then it crashed all the way down like $4. So that, of course, we lost money on that. And I mean, I'm not perfect. That's why diversification is important. That's why not one stock strategy doesn't really work well. So we have to put our money in multiple places. So now I think it's SoFi's time to rebound. I think that now in August 29th of 2023, that CARES Act pause on student loans actually is over. So everybody has to pay their federal loans back after August 29th. So when this happens, that's when one of SoFi's biggest revenue creators is going to come back in, and the price is going and the stock has to rebound to where it's supposed to be. And like I said, I still think SoFi has a huge potential to get between $25 and $30. I still believe it. It just didn't happen in the timetable I thought it was going to happen, right? So I still think it's going to do good. I still think we're going to do okay. And I still got a lot of faith in SoFi, right? So now I want to talk about one last thing. Let's move on. So, last thing I want to talk about, like I said, with Strategy Sundays, I'm trying to cut them down to 30 minutes because I think I've normally had them about 45 an hour, and I think that may be a little bit too long. So I've been trying to figure out a way to cut them down to about 35, 40 minutes. So I've been cutting out a lot of stuff. But like I said, I want to talk about the next NVIDIA. Because that jet's already in the sky. And I'm not saying you can't make money still, but you have to understand that the risk is hard to get in now. You know how many messages I've gotten in the last 2 weeks? A week over when NVIDIA, they beat earnings. They went up like what, 30% in one day, $100 in one day. And people made 100, 200 times their money in some cases. Some people became millionaires off of that play. In the CNC and outside the CNC. And I got so many thankful messages, all these messages coming through. But I probably got, for about a week straight, I got about 150, 200 messages, DMs in my Instagram, emails and stuff like that. People asking me, should they jump into NVIDIA, right? Like I said, I'm never going to respond to that. So I don't give investment advice over DMs or over calls. So the only thing you're going to get from me is over this YouTube. And it's not advice. It's just telling you what I'm doing and how I see the market. So you're not going to get investment advice from me DMing me. I'm not going to tell you to buy something, sell something. It don't work out. We give signals out in the CNC, buy and sell points, but it's up to you to make that decision. But I don't give direct investment advice to anybody. Thank you. But people want to jump in and they want to get in as soon as something already, and for those who follow me closely, the entire 3-4 months I was talking about NVIDIA. It's these same people, I could see them watching me. I could see them on my lives. I could see them doing it. They didn't do nothing. And then they want to jump in when it's too late. So it's maybe too late for huge gains with NVIDIA. Let's say NVIDIA goes to 1,000, which I really strongly believe it's going to get there. It may take a year, but it's going to get to 1,000. So you're only up, 100% at this point. So if you got in at 120, when we talking about it, 130, 140, when it gets over 1,000, you made 10 times your money. With the options, you may have made 1,000 times your money, maybe, if you got the right option, 500 times, because there was a lot of time on those contracts. So even if you get lucky and NVIDIA doubles, you made 100%, which is extremely good in stocks, but you missed a lot of the crazy returns and the risk was higher because there could be a retraction soon. So you have to be able to look past what's the next thing. And the next one, and I've been talking about this for the last 2 weeks, and it's up about 13% since we've been talking about it. And I think this is the week that Twilio is going to shine. Now, what Twilio is that, now remember, I know some of y'all don't know, but my background is in software engineering. I went to school, I went to college I got a degree in software engineering. I went to USF for my grad school. I studied software security. I was a teacher, instructor in college. I taught computer science. I've been published for, security papers. You can look it up online. Sold a software company, a crypto software, AI crypto software company back in 2017 for a multi-million-dollar deal. So I've been in this a while. And I remember when Twilio came out, it was like 2013, 12. And Twilio was when you get scam calls now and you call the number back and nobody answers. Now, Twilio, that didn't exist before Twilio's technology. Twilio allowed people telecommunications. It allowed you to create one-time use telephone numbers and one-time use text numbers, and also do a lot of voice calls and stuff like that. So anything that most companies right now that use those types of systems, call center stuff, use Twilio on the back end. Twilio changed the game for telecommunications and software. And now they're moving into AI voices, AI conversations, AI chats, but over the phone, right? Reservations where you talk to an AI agent. So Twilio is moving strong into AI. That's the reason why the stock's going up, right? They were founded in 2008. So yeah, I didn't hear about them until like 2013 though. I didn't hear about them until like 2013, to be honest. So they may have been founded in 2008, but I started hearing about 2012, 13, because I remember on Twitter, I thought, oh man, it's interesting. They started doing conferences and they let software engineers come and they would teach you how to use their technology. And I always thought it was cool because you could just, on the back end, you could just create one-time use phone numbers and use them for whatever and get rid of them. But that also enabled the scam calls that we have today. A lot of those scam companies use Twilio. A lot of people don't know that. That's why when you call them back, that's why they can call you from your own zip code. Well, not zip code, but area code. That all started with Twilio. A lot of people don't know that. And they'll call you. It used to be back in the day, they had to have a physical phone. So they would call you and you'd be like, I ain't answering that number because it's from New York and I'm from Florida. So obviously I don't even know the person. But now they'll call you from your area code because they can generate these numbers on the back end and use them one time and then dispose of them. So back to what I was saying is that Twilio is the next step in the AI revolution. So people ask me what stock's next. Twilio's next. Twilio's next. Right now, let me look up Twilio's price. Because you have to understand how business cycles, how businesses think. My specialty is tech. And I talk about stocks a lot, but I rarely go outside of tech. And I'm lucky because tech is getting so big that it's almost all the market, Like 5 years ago, it wasn't like that. It was a sector. Now it's every year it takes more and more of the market to find everything's going to be tech, which is, I'm lucky that I got into that early because I stick to tech because I know tech. And it just happens to be that the most valuable companies, the fastest growing companies, the ones that make the most money are tech. So it gives me a unique advantage to understand how these companies work, business on the business side, on the technical analysis side, on the market cycles and the adoption cycles, and in how businesses work in general, and especially tech businesses. So I have a unique angle to understand how this works. So what's been going on over the last 6 months is that companies have been in a mad dash to try to figure out how to start or either compete with this AI revolution that's happening right in front of us. So the first thing they do is that you got to build up infrastructure. So it's a mad dash to buy chips, to buy get cloud computing, Amazon, Microsoft, all these companies, to create some kind of software so that you can consume these endpoints, APIs, whatever that have to do, like open APIs as an endpoint, API that you can use to use their services. And so now the next wave is integration. To use AI to reduce expenses and reduce headcount. So whenever you look at a company, you have to get rid of the easiest people first. Like, they're not going to get rid of a risk analyst first. It's too hard. But you can get rid of a call center. I used to work at AAA and we had a call center. Of course, you call in AAA, say my car's messed up, and we had a call center up there full of people. We had more people in our call center than we had engineers, accountants, or whatever. The call center was the biggest cost to the company, right? So the people on the top are going to see this as an opportunity. If we can get rid of the call center, we're going to increase our revenue 20, 30%, if not more, because we can do it all through AI. So every company has come to this conclusion right about now. So it's going to be it was a mad dash on NVIDIA. Sometime it already started really, but we're at the beginning of it. There's going to be a mad dash on Twilio. Right. So Twilio right now is up 12% over the last 2 weeks. And I can see Twilio. And I go out on a limb here. I say, let me see Twilio. I would say I could see Twilio being over $200 by, let's say, end of the year. Maybe more, 200, 250 by the end of the year. I'll go out and say that. And right now, Twilio's not showing much movement. It's not like it's on an upward trend. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. I say I could see it being over 100 in the next 3 months. I say give it a year. A year from today, it'll be over 200. But I can see it being over 100 in 3 months. I would say June, by the end of the summer, it'll be over 100, if not more. So, like I said, I think Twilio is the next wave of the AI revolution. And I think that's going to be the one next that everybody's going to be talking about. But it hasn't started yet. Like with NVIDIA, we started about NVIDIA in January, late last year. Nobody was talking about it. This is how things happen. Or nobody talks about it. It doesn't exist there. But then as soon as it starts popping off, everybody's into it. All your favorite influencers acting like they knew all along. And y'all eat that right up, which I don't understand. But that's what happens. So like I said, last thing I want to talk about here is the event in New York City. I said we're going to drop a quantum computing plate. It's going to be valid 24, 25. Going to make a lot of people a lot of money. We're only going to do it once in New York City, June 10th, this Saturday. You can get an in-person ticket, or you can get, if you're in New York, you can DM me the word New York also, New York City, and I'll send you a link on Instagram, on here on YouTube. And also, let me see. We got 4 live tickets left. We got 3 VIPs, and we got a few virtuals left. So like I said, is that if you're interested in coming, if you can't make the virtual, we'll send you a recording afterwards. If I made you a bunch of money on NVIDIA, you could pay me back by helping yourself and attending this meeting. This event. Like I said, is like I said, I'm gonna give you guys about 5 minutes to ask any questions. Then we're gonna let you guys go for the night. Oh, the upcoming Litecoin halving. So I think the Litecoin halving is in August. I think that won't be as impactful as the Bitcoin halving, but I think it's gonna make Litecoin rise. I think the price of Litecoin is gonna go up. I don't think it's going to be, I think Litecoin will see more of an impact at the Bitcoin halving. It's going to see a light impact from August. Then it's going to see a bigger impact in April of next year, after April of next year. Can you do my trading for me? I don't trade people's money. So if you get any messages or any kind of thing, I don't take people's money to trade crypto or stocks. I may do an innovation fund, but it's going to be like 2-3 years from now. And I'm not going to be like these other people. I'm not just going to take your money, put it in an account. It's going to go through a trust, lawyer, everything. It's going to be a legit investment fund that I can't even touch. So that may be 3-4 years from now. I'm not going to do it anytime soon, but eventually I probably will. And it'll probably be a mix of stocks, startup companies, probably some blockchain, if that's still, we don't know what's going to happen in 3 years, so we'll see. And probably some private equity. But that's going to be way down the line because I don't want to be caught with somebody saying I stole money and then like all these other people that are getting caught in the last 3 or 4 weeks. I would have to make sure that I was completely separated from the money. The lawyers would handle it. The accountants would handle it. I wouldn't even receive my money until everybody else got theirs first. So it would be set up in a way that is no way I could be accused of anything or, people, it has to be very clear, very transparent. And I want to make sure everybody knows exactly what's happening to the money. So there's a platform out there that allows you to create funds like that. So you would be able to look into the fund, see where all the money's going. I would have to be very transparent. Should we be accumulating Bitcoin and Ethereum right now? The thing about it is that if Bitcoin or Ethereum does drop, the drops will be small in relation to where it's going. And I don't like taking risk like that. In Bitcoin or in stocks is different because you can do technical analysis and be, and really with a high level of correctness, you could kind of predict where it's going. It's hard to do that with Bitcoin and crypto because of the way the market is in crypto. So I don't know, man. I just buy whenever I can. If there's a drop, I'll buy some, but I don't sit around waiting for a drop because a lot of times people get burned like that. I think it's too risky to do that. Some people do, but I don't like waiting for Bitcoin. I just buy it. If I think it's a good price now, I just buy it because let's say if you buy it at 20,000, 30,000, 25,000, but let's say the price of Bitcoin ends up being at where I think it's going to go 250 next cycle. Did it really matter if you pay 25 or 30 for it? It really don't matter as much because it's already, it really don't matter in the grand scheme of things. The small differences now ain't going to matter to the big differences later. Now, if you can get it for half, maybe, but it's not. I don't think it's going to go down that low no more. Where can we get in the ARP stock IPO? XRP, you mean Ripple stock IPO? Another thing is that my book is actually doing extremely well on. So if you guys go to Amazon, you can get the book, Strategic Millionaire. It's got 25. We got a 5.0 review. It's actually doing extremely well. It's been in the top 10 bestseller for the last, 3 weeks. So like I said, is that I would love for you guys to get this book. It's on Amazon. It's called The Strategic Millionaire. It's actually, people like it. People have read it. If you guys read it, I want to, what do you guys think about it before we go? Put it in the comments. I want to see what you guys think about it. How many people have read the book? I want to see what. A lot of people read it, but they don't tell me what they think. I want to know what you guys think before we go. So the way that people have explained it, I didn't mean to write it like this, but there's like 4 comments or 4 reviews that say it's a newer version of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I didn't mean to write it like that, but I guess that's what it came out like, because that is one of my favorite books. So maybe I was influenced subconsciously by that, because it's like 4 reviews out of 25 that say it's like a modern version of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So maybe I subconsciously included a lot of that in there. Yeah, that was the purpose of the book, is to get, now the book is more of a way to get you to think differently. And that's what was my point. It was to make you see money, see opportunity, and see risk differently. That was the three things I wanted to achieve with that book. I want you to see money differently. I want you to see opportunity differently. And I want you to see risk differently after the book is over. That's the three things I wanted to achieve. And I also, I'm going to tell you this story, Terrence. Terrence says, easy, practical read. So the first version of the book I wrote, it was so too technical that people couldn't even understand it. I don't know if you get in the CNC, I dropped it to I wrote 6 chapters, and I wrote it. And this, I'm going to tell you a story about that. The first book I wrote was called Engineering Wealth. And I was going to use software engineering principles on how I built wealth, right? And it was way too advanced, man. When I read it, after I wrote it and I went back and read it, I was like, man, who's going to understand this? I was using technical jargon and stuff like that. So I went back to the drawing board, and I got when I wrote the book, I got Grammarly, and I set it to a 6th grade level. And then I wrote it in a 6th grade level, because the first one was so advanced that you had to have like a advanced college degree in computer science to even understand it. You know, so I actually messed that up, man. And I lost, and it actually set me back like a year because of that. So I went back and rewrote it. That it's in the CNC, that first manuscript. So I read the book and I didn't even want to read it. I was like, man, it's too much thinking in this. I got to think about all this stuff. It hurt my head to read that first version. And I knew the jargon. I didn't want to think that much. So I went back and rewrote it because it was too much. The book will be in person. I'm doing a book signing next Saturday. So if you're there in person, I'll sign the book. You can buy the book there too. Also, you can buy the new shirts that I got coming. They're bears. Like I said, I hope you guys have a great night. I appreciate you. And see you guys next